All statements and opinions expressed by guests of the Adult in the Room podcast are strictly their own and do not necessarily reflect the beliefs or opinions of the host, producers, or advertisers. All interviews are presented in their most complete possible form in the interests of free speech. No statements should be interpreted as financial, legal, or medical advice. Listener and viewer discretion are strongly advised.
It's the Adult in the Room podcast with Victoria Taft. That's me. Hey, how are you? Victoria Taft, the Adult in the Room. You are too if you're watching this podcast. And we always say head up, heart out, and always strive to be the adult in the room. And so that's how we conduct ourselves on a weekly basis, unless I'm going to Pete Hegseth. Was that hilarious today? I'm going to play you a couple of cuts from Pete Hegseth before we get into our first interview, which is not going to be about Pete Hegseth. We have got a veteran that's going to come on a little bit later in the program to talk about what he did, his 10 plans for just streamlining the military, going back to toxic masculinity. He didn't call it that because he doesn't believe in that. So anyway, so funny. So today's guest, we're going to talk to Honey Badger Mom, and that is Chelly Bufferrache, and she is a journalist, and she goes down to the Antifa headquarters every night. Now, I say Antifa, but they're really going to the ICE headquarters because the Antifa people are trying to take over the ICE headquarters and or bring pain. So now, as a result, Pete Hegseth has called for the National Guard to come in, and I have a letter from the National Guard General. In Oregon, he's not so keen on that. The population of elected officials who comprise most of the governing class in Oregon, regularly, if you don't know this, I should say, the government class people are well over 50% of the people working in the state of Oregon, which means that people who are not part of a public employee union really don't stand a chance. But anyway, so the general weighs in. He's not necessarily very happy with Donald Trump, but it's not as bad as some people are depicting it. Let's see, what else? Pete Hegseth. So Pete Hegseth is the what are we calling him? The Secretary of War, because the Department of Defense changed over to the Department of War. Pete Hegseth is the leader of the Department of War. And it looks like he probably sent this Black Hawk over Portland as he prepares to deploy the National Guard in Oregon, federalizing the state National Guard. Here, look at that.
So this is the second trip around I've seen.
This is Honey Badger Mom talking. Oh, look at that. So they're sending in people to keep watching, find out what's going on, and probably try to find some landing places, etc. Here is Pete Hegseth remember the big, huge, oh my gosh, they're sending all of the generals from around the world and admirals and, all the fruit salad and the scrambled eggs on their hats and all that stuff. And they're all sending them into Quantico today because they had a thing that was big enough to hold all of them. And I was surprised because I thought Pete Hegseth was going to give them a meeting, have a meeting and tell them what's what, but it would leak out later because that's just the way it is. But no, he did everything on television. Everything was live streamed. And so here are a couple of things, and he is absolutely transparent, saying that dudes in dresses and people who can't do pull-ups are not welcome.
Choose foolishly to challenge us. They will be crushed by the violence, precision, and ferocity of the War Department. In other words, to our enemies, F-A-F-O.
He got a laugh and a few smattering applause from guys. Just a little bit. It was a very quiet crowd, very quiet, because I'm sure they didn't know what to do. They didn't know what was coming. So Hegseth goes over these 10 plans, the way he's going to streamline the military and how he's going to go back to basics. first principles in the military speak. And so they are going to make sure that everyone is fit, that there is no favoritism based on immutable characteristics. He said this. And he also said that he is tired of seeing fat generals and fat admirals in the halls of the Pentagon. And he said this as well.
This administration has done a great deal from day one to remove the social justice, politically correct, and toxic ideological garbage that had infected our department, to rip out the politics. No more identity months, DEI offices, dudes in dresses. No more climate change worship. No more division, distraction, or gender delusions. No more debris. As I've said before, and will say again, we are done with that shit.
He's done with it. Oh, potty talk. That was the only potty talk word he issued forth this 45-minute long speech. President Trump later came up and he talked about many things. In fact, it was so meandering I had to click off because ain't no time to. I have show prep to do, for crying out loud. I can't go through another one of the meandering, long-winded, never-stopping Donald Trump speeches that are very highly entertaining, but really sort of off the point from what Pete Hegseth had to say. So, another day, you'll have to go watch that yourself. But there was one cut that I thought was pretty interesting because it applies to the other things that we'd be talking about today. And that was that about sending the National Guard into and federalizing the National Guard in Portland. And the president said, I talked to the governor and she said, please, Mr. President, do not send the National Guard here. And he said, okay, let me do some checking. She goes, it's totally peaceful. Everything's under control. There is not a problem. And under the umbrella of Oregon, which of course you always need one. And anyway, she said that we don't need it. And so over the weekend also, all of these elected officials went out and they either phoned it in or they came to a collection of a lovely presser in another part of downtown that doesn't actually have people sleeping on the sidewalks and waiting for the night to come so that they can trash ice again. They did it somewhere else. And they said, see, this is beautiful. It's wonderful here in Portland. The president doesn't need to come. And then, so the president, when he first talked to the unfortunately named Tina Kotek, he said, Governor, I'll call you back after I check out your story. I don't want to come if there's no need for it. And he says he called her back and he said, this place looks like World War II. What are you doing there? And so, of course, he said, well, I'm going to send him. And so he did. And a person who's been there, a reporter, independent reporter, Shelley Bufferrache, she is known online as Honey Badger Mom. And she is with me right now. Hey, girl, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm so glad to have you. I still haven't come down, but I have something for you when I do, okay? Ooh, and I'm going to text you. And I'm going to come up and I'm going to come down. I'm going to go to all the different places on the West Coast, West Coast to make sure that we touch and are able to fist bump. I got a T-shirt for you too. So there you go. Well, okay. So President Trump had a conversation with the unfortunately named Tina Kotek, and he said that it looked like World War II had happened there. And I recognize that World War II isn't happening everywhere in the city of Portland, but it's happening in the places that count. Tell me what's on the ground.
So one of the first things that you notice when you go down to the ICE building is the building itself is now covered in plywood. And
yeah. Up
until recently, there was graffiti all over the plywood. There's still graffiti. And it's vile stuff.
Here's as we do this, I'm showing B-roll of this is the supposed video of Ron Wyden took. I said, all the boards are there. You can keep talking over it. I'm trying to turn that down the sound here.
So They actually, I don't know if they put up new plywood, but I'm pretty sure that they did on several portions of the building. And then you can kind of tell they painted over some of it. So most of the graffiti on that building is gone. But up until a few days ago, it was just a plethora of kill yourself and other terrible things that I don't know that I should repeat. And there's also graffiti everywhere. There are marks in the streets from different types of
Munitions?
munitions that they use. And then if you looked, as that camera had turned around there, you could see down the street going towards the spaghetti factory. There was a school there on that sidewalk, and it's full now of their encampment. So they'll have several tents, tables.
Really?
Yes, and the city will take it down regularly, and it's back up in 40 minutes.
Okay, I want to set the scene for everybody. This is the same school that had to close because of all the munitions and Antifa trash in the area and scaring the kids. And what did they do? They blamed ICE for this.
They did.
And then they left, and now Antifa's taken over. Oh, that's just rich.
Yes.
Speak more on that, if you would.
It is really disgusting because the school did blame ICE, and I'm thinking, well, even if ICE wasn't using these munitions, these people are still camped out. These weirdos and creeps and homeless people are spending all night, all day there, and with different kinds of weapons. They're having barbecues at nighttime, probably even more than just the nighttime. They're drinking alcohol and getting high. Down there, there's garbage everywhere. The city cleans it up, and then it's back up again.
Do they clean it every day?
No, I think weekly. They sweep it. Everything goes away. They do allow them to pick up. They'll be like, in 4 hours, you can come to this building and pick up your things. And they have a certain amount of time to do that. But there's a storage unit right behind the school. Heated storage unit. You can see the advertisement on the side of the building, and they have a storage unit there. They pull stuff out of there. Somebody rolls up with a U-Haul, which you see there regularly, and they unload new stuff and start all over.
By new stuff, what do you mean?
Well, so I'm assuming that some of the things get destroyed in the process.
Is this like sleeping bags and tents or something like that?
Sleeping bags, chairs, food, masks. I know that they have body cams, but I'm not sure if they keep them in the encampment, but people donate that frequently. Probably blankets. It's been a while since I can't get close to it anymore. When I would go and block, I could actually observe what they had down there, but I literally don't even feel comfortable being across the street from it at this point because I think I'm going to get attacked. But
and why would you think that, Shelley? Why would that occur to you?
I don't know. Maybe the several physical attacks I've endured since I started doing this. So, it's just full of whatever they need for the day, and people will drop by pizzas for them too, like Domino's.
Is this to the storage unit, or is it just in general when they're encampment, when they're waiting to go out at night, kind of a deal?
To the encampment.
Okay.
And this was told to me back in July, but one of the people at the ICE building said that people were actually sending gas masks using the ICE building address for the people in the encampment. Of course, they said, "Oh, we'll definitely take these," and they just stay with them. But so. Incredible.
So it is incredible. It's just it reminds me so much of 2020. But you can't. But the thing is that they indulge this. My guess is, I know that when Andy and I have spoken about it, and and I've spoken about it, and it's just like in reading in his book, and these people are of the government. I mean, some of these guys either work at City Hall, or they work at OHSU, they're nurses somewhere, they have other jobs that allow them to spend their evenings at the ICE headquarters, or that Taco Bell guy. I mean, that guy. You took the video, or you were in the video, that when the the black man shows up to the the scene of the crime. How about that? And they just don't quite know what to do with him. Can you talk about that? I'll play some B-roll for you.
Okay. And actually,
Loud, sorry.
Right. So he
There we go.
said, I had this man named, I think it was Matt Morse, I might get that wrong, who was live streaming my live stream on his YouTube. And he saw my live stream, which was showing Katie and her bodyguard getting harassed and myself getting harassed. And he said, no, I'm not doing that. We are going down there. And he brought his lady down there and marched in with his hat. And that's me hugging him.
I know, I saw that.
And then you'll see the guy right next to him in the gray hoodie. That's somebody I know from Patriot Prayer Days. And I had another, a friend of mine was down there to watch my back. I'm not going to say his name, but he is a black guy like this guy, but is a MAGA guy that has shown up to watch my back.
This is Katie Davenport's video right here, but you and Katie sort of watch each other's backs too.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
I mean, honest to goodness, it's frightening. I mean, I've had death threats from Antifa, so that's not why I'm so thrilled about getting there and having anybody. I mean, I'm sure this is a different crowd to some extent. They're all the same people, but I believe that they're, they may not care or know who I am, but I have had death threats. And so I probably shouldn't say that out loud, but whatever. I mean, it is what it is.
Anybody who speaks about them is going to come under fire from them.
Yeah.
So I'm not surprised.
I saw somebody mention, I don't know where I saw it, maybe it was on a Twitter thread or something like that. I'm like, well, when they're going after the media, because lots of people are showing up now, and, all the national guys that do this, what's his name? I'll think of it. And real famous live streamer, YouTuber. And
Shirley.
Yes. So he shows up and then somebody, I think it was on his timeline, they say, well, if they're coming after the media, this is really bad. And I thought, oh, have I got a story for you? I mean, these guys, where have they been? That's the first thing they go after. I'm trying to
I don't understand how they don't know that this has been ongoing. It's because it's been going on in Portland for so long.
It's been going on forever. This is a photo by Andy No, who was this was before he was like Andy No, and it is put down your cell phones, don't snitch ever. This is an Antifa thing, and it was left downtown by Portland State University, and it gives the rules for don't you dare turn on your phone. Few things. Don't put down your cell phones and participate. Don't help the police. Do not report illegal activity. And let's see what else. Don't post protest videos, and all the rest of the things. Oh, send money and this and that. But so this is pretty interesting. Yeah. They go after the Mike Strickland was the number one victim, first guy.
Absolutely. He tells me don't go downtown. Don't go cover these people. I understand why he says it too. He's worried.
Oh yeah. They'll set you up. They set him up. I mean,
absolutely.
Yeah, and he ended up going to jail. So if you have any questions about that, everybody who's listening and watching right now, you can go to starting with the second ever podcast of the Adult in the Room podcast, and it was audio only. I think it's a 7-part series on Mike Strickland's case with original audio, video, and all sorts of things. It's crazy, and it was a miscarriage of justice. But what do you expect in Multnomah County?
I think about that all the time because in my comments on X, I get, well, you should open carry. You should conceal carry. Where's your gun? Why aren't you defending yourself? Just shoot these people when they come after you. Like, I don't even want to have a weapon down there.
You can take less than lethal. And, you can get a zapper.
I'm going to tell you something that nobody else knows right now. I got assaulted robbed last Saturday, which people do know. But when I was away from my house, a process server came to my home and served my 17-year-old daughter with legal paperwork for me. And it's a lawsuit filed against me by the person that I pepper sprayed on July 19th, I believe. It was somebody that I pepper sprayed that was waving a flagpole at me.
Oh, yeah.
He thought were going to hit me, and there was somebody else that assaulted me that night. They're suing me for $10,000. So, and not in small claims. So,
did you say not in small claims?
Not in small claims. I think that they want discovery, and they want, because $10,000 is not very much money to sue for and have an attorney. The attorney is also listed on the Antifa Watch website as a mutual aid attorney.
Sure, so they don't pay for anything. George Soros helps pay for it, though.
Yeah. Oh, there's definitely money coming for that funding somewhere, and I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to do about it yet, but I'm clearly going to fight it. So, but now I'm going to defend myself.
And do you have video of that?
I do. I'll send it to
you. Because I think that's actually a good story. You might want to write it yourself, but I would be honored to be able to talk about that. Because I really detest the way these people conduct themselves. And they don't follow the rules. There is no Marquess of Queensberry rules for these people. They will do anything, say anything. And they murdered a man on the streets of Portland. And we went over in our last episode, we were showing video and stuff and about people being attacked. We showed the video of, I can't remember, Balcom he was the black journalist. That was 20.
Night?
What's that?
Was it from the other night?
No. This is from years back.
Okay.
Yeah, Black lives don't matter to these people. They just they have to be leftist lives matter. And so, in fact, and here's Andy No being assaulted. Now, Andy, this is the milkshake attack. They always say, "Oh, he just was milkshaked." And who knows what? I mean, I haven't seen it for years. Watch this.
Go run to your car!
That's assault, by the way. Look at those people laughing at him. Blah, 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 blah. Anyway, it goes on and on and on and on. That was very, very dangerous. He kept going. He kept taking video, though. I got to hand it to him. But and then, of course, he ended up in the hospital. They beat him on the head, and he ended up with brain injuries. So, and then the Portland police, just oddly, just never had. They couldn't find the perpetrator, even though Andy. To what extent are you disgusted with, this is a loaded question, to what extent are you disgusted with the response by the Portland Police Bureau?
I'm trying to be measured. I'm very, very angry because they have committed crimes against Andy, against myself, against Katie Davis Court, against other journalists, against citizens, repeatedly. I was beat on video August 3rd by two different, sorry, my cat's behind me, by two different women, and they were identified, and it's still kind of, we haven't talked to them yet. They had a problem with that I had touched one of their signs to remove it from my face. So it's a very sort of mealy-mouthed response from them that it's a problematic case.
You really do have to know your rights and what's required of you. And here's the favorite trick. They'll come around and they'll blow the whistle, they'll bullhorns, and they'll ruin whatever work product you have. They do it on purpose, and then they get in your face. And there is a a rule that says you can't get that close. And obviously, if she touches you with it, that's an assault. And then, but the other thing is that you actually do have at some point, because this happened to Strickland, you have a duty to retreat at some point if you are scared. But if you're scared and you want to come back at those guys, they say, well, you came back. You must not be that scared. And that's really what got Mike Strickland. I mean, they were swarming him. They'd already beaten him, and then they were coming back for him. And
well, that was mentioned to me that it was good that I hadn't gone back immediately after it happened. It showed I was afraid.
Absolutely. Remember to say that. And when you do,
afraid.
Of course. Well, yes, of course. Yeah.
Like, even if I was like, I'm glad I wasn't. My first instinct was they're not going to stop me from coming back.
Right.
But it took me until I could find security to decide to do that, to come back. And the woman continued. She harassed me the other night. The one that she punched me in the head 12 times, 15 times. Wow.
It was that many times.
She was, it was blow after blow after blow after blow after blow. Mm-hmm. I had bruises everywhere on my head. And she was circling around me Sunday, taunting me, asking me what my problem was. It's just like, whew. And I knew that the cops will do nothing, nothing. And
they won't respond.
They would not respond. That comes from the leadership. Sorry, my cat is looking at my light. That comes from the leadership and from the mayor, because the mayor is the police commissioner. So right. I blame the mayor. Like that's.
Yeah, it starts at the top.
So
what a loser that guy is.
Oh, so he's another milquetoast leader that's going to do nothing for the city. They have 10 cops for the central precinct at nighttime. That's it.
Ridiculous. I saw your tweet about that. That's ridiculous.
It's nobody is safe. It's not just me. Nobody is safe in that precinct. They don't have enough cops to respond to anything.
What's happening in the areas that are just outside of the ICE office?
So you'll see graffiti and some garbage in and around the area, like the couple of blocks. But if you go one block past the Gray's Landing building, which is the low assisted living, low income apartment there's a building called the Matisse, and that's
I know where that is.
Yeah, that's where one of their main organizers has an apartment on the bottom floor. And so he lets them use his one-bedroom apartment as a flop house. So people are going in and out of that building all the time. So
is that where we've seen where they busted that guy? So it's not just directly across from the ICE building. I thought it was.
It's just around one block past. So all of these people walk past the Gray's Landing building, where a lot of the people in that building, in the Gray's Landing building, do not like Antifa, do not like what's happening. And the ones that have spoken out get harassed by them now.
Of course,
regularly. Yeah.
I mean, you're afraid for your life. And these people have killed people before.
Yes. And it's not like these people are mentally stable. A lot of them, they're truly unhinged. And I'm not saying that they could easily kill somebody without intending to, with some of the things that I have seen them do and the way that they've acted. Also,
for instance, give me an example like what you're talking about.
Okay, well, I've seen them push people down, and all it would take is to push a guy hard enough, one man to push another man, hit his head on the sidewalk, and a fatal wound. I've seen them hit people with a skateboard.
Oh yeah, that's an old trick.
I do believe that some of them have weapons. I know they have knives. So, and mob behavior it's not safe to be around a mob. And it doesn't take much the night that I got beat, it just took, I'm not even sure exactly what it was, but somebody did something, and then it was like they lit a match, and somebody was going after Katie, and I had 2 people going after me immediately. And it doesn't take that many of them to gang up on a single person and beat them to death.
Yeah, all it takes is one blow from a strong man. I mean, you're dead. Then you're dead. That's what I'm always thinking about. And if these guys are unhinged, which of course they are, how many of the trannies are still there?
A lot. There's a lot. There's a lot of them. Mostly male to female. So they're really aggressive men on medication.
So they're men.
That make them crazy. And yeah, so, and then there's a few the other way, and they all seem to be not well individuals. Some of the most unhinged ones down there.
So the city doesn't help. The police don't help because they've defunded. Well, I thought they were trying to hire more cops, but it doesn't look like it, huh?
I do believe they're trying, but
why would you?
It's hard for them to recruit. I don't think they can even give bonuses for recruiting. And other cities, other counties, other states are offering big bonuses for Portland cops to leave because they know that they're good at their job. They have had a lot of training and they know what it's like to deal with riots. And so people are leaving.
How can people help you?
Well, if they're brave enough and they want to show up down at ICE and they feel like they can be peaceful, I love to see other people down there. I do have like a buy me a coffee where people can tip me, and that's helpful. Just to follow and share my work and tell people, to take a look at it. And I love hearing like people say really encouraging things to me, and that means a lot, and praying for me. I love that. I have a lot of people praying for me.
I saw Nick Sorter stole some of your stuff, so that sucked.
So I will say, as soon as he noticed it, he sent me a private message. He credited me below it. He apologized. He pointed to where he got it from. So I found the person who originally stole it. And he sent me $100. And he sent me his phone number and said he was hitting the ground soon. And so to give him a call. So that was nice. A lot of people with big accounts will just take whatever footage comes their way, and they never think about that. So I was glad to see that.
Yeah. And it always ends up, when it's Nick Sorter stuff, it always ends up on Fox News. So, I mean, you're just going, they could have been me, because you'll get more views that way.
Right. I had no idea that I mean, were they saying that the laser was on that helicopter in that clip?
They did. Was it?
I don't know. I mean, I could see. So the problem with, I'm always shoot with the iPhone, and you'll get sometimes some different, that spot right there, maybe. But I thought that was just a light on the helicopter.
Yeah, but he said that someone, now this is, of course, we're assuming you know all this, everybody who's watching the live stream, and I apologize for that. But what I mean is that Nick Sorter, who was a presence on X, said that this person who was, now that looks different. So there was a white light and then there was the red light. We'll just keep cycling through your video because this is Honey Badger Mom's video. And but anyway, what he said was they busted a house full of illegal aliens belonging to the guy who was painting the Black Hawk with some lasers. And it was like, okay, you don't know a thing about that? It's your video.
Right? Oh, and that was the ultimate FAFO for sure for those people.
It really happened then, for sure?
The bust or the
bust?
The bust, I believe, really happened. Katie got the information on that.
Okay.
So she has some very good connections. That really did happen. It's incredible to think that anybody would be that stupid.
Right. That's
illegals,
dangerous.
It's
What's
dangerous.
That?
Well, as illegals, they did it. And his 3 illegal buddies, his roommates, got busted too.
Where were they?
So it was a pretty big circle that they did around downtown. I'm on the south waterfront there in the Spaghetti Factory parking lot when I filmed that. So, but it went up probably at least the southern part of downtown. I don't know how far those lasers go, but it had to be somebody in downtown. They did, somebody showed a grainy, like, video from up above of where this house was, but it didn't look familiar to me. I would be interested to know.
Very interesting. Have you seen any other movements, troop movements, if you will? Yeah, we missed most of your answer, so because you froze up. So
sorry.
you saw,
I
but
was
you saw a
on the
bus full of
street.
National Guard guys then.
Yeah, somebody on the left posted it on Instagram.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, the National Guard general that's probably making the news now. We got Ken Klippenstein reporting it on Substack, where he talks about how the general, the general in charge of the Oregon National Guard, says that he prepared the troops and said, well, I understand that you aren't really going to like what you're doing in some cases, but we're just professionals and that sort of thing. But Klippenstein's making a big deal about it because he says, the general's very upset about this mission, and maybe some of them are, because they're from woke Oregon. What do you expect? But anyway, I just thought
employees aren't, I believe so. I'm sure that is going to have some awkward conversations.
I didn't hear that. What?
They're state employees, so they're going to have some awkward conversations. The National Guard people, they're appointed, I believe. So I believe, if I'm understanding correctly, when they're at that level, I can't remember the term for it, but you're like state and military. And so I would think that maybe would be difficult, but it sounds like that Trump is continuing to push on that.
Yeah, they're coming.
I'm going up tonight. I'm going to be there tomorrow. I'll be there Thursday night, after my other job, and because I fully expect them to hit the ground at some point soon. So if anybody knows, let me know.
Well, I'm not expecting a lot from the National Guard in terms of law enforcement at all. I feel like they're just going to protect the federal building, and then and so hence having the backs of the guys and gals who are in ICE, and allowing them to get their cars out during shift change or when they're going to go on an operation, to be able to get out of the driveway without being somebody blocking them and that sort of thing. Have you seen a lot of that by any chance? I'm just curious before we go.
The in and out. Yeah. Oh yeah. That's what I'm waiting for when I go down there, because that tends to be when the far left freaks out the most. And it is the most stressful time for them inside the building, because they have to clear the driveway. They have to send men out. They have to send everybody back in. A lot of crimes occur during this time, and they're just worried about getting these guys out and on the road and not followed to their hotels.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Oh yeah, that was another thing. Keith Wilson, the mayor, the loser mayor, did he actually call the local hotels and say he didn't want anybody to put up the National Guard guys in there?
I do believe that they actually did make those calls.
Jeez, what a loser.
Well, when you look at our city council, 6 of the members are DSA. Well, I shouldn't say they're all DSA members, but at least DSA affiliated, and some are DSA members. And they are absolutely pushing this. And this is what they want. And they're not worried about the citizens that live in their districts, that work for ICE, for FPS, for Homeland Security. They don't care at all.
Yeah, they don't, because they're part of the problem. They're the fellow travelers. The DSA, DSA's always been at that. They have always had a high presence at the radical left, because they are the radical left. They're for all intents and purposes, if they're giving the big ole to Antifa, then what's happening is they are Antifa. They are not just Antifa adjacent. They've made their choice, and it's not you.
No, so Angelita Murillo, I refuse to say it like she says it. I have seen conversations on Blue Sky between her and one of the biggest doxers and sharps, far left men, that was violent, just talking. And then my attacker on August 3rd, who got arrested for felony riot at the Society Hotel, She did a Stitch TikTok video with her. They're friends. They know each other. And this woman, Nikki Middleton, is Antifa and is down regularly down at ICE. So they absolutely have connections. And I may have heard that Mitch Green said he can't go against Block. He told one of his constituents that.
Wow. She means Black Bloc. You've seen them. That's the Antifa uniform. I'm counting it as an Antifa uniform. This is an organization that's not imaginary. It's not just an idea. But basically what's happening is they have a cannon. They have a flag. They have a uniform. They have oaths that they take in the way of their chants and that sort of thing. And they have a membership. And
Absolutely.
That's an organization. And that is ripe for domestic terrorism charges. Okay. Well, listen, Shelley Bufferrache, thank you so much. She's Honey Badger Mom. Follow her on X. And then you say that you're doing a live stream, and somebody was like, or you're just doing a live stream on X, or?
I do a live stream on X.
Okay.
And then other people pick it up and take it to Rumble and YouTube, which is great. I don't want to do those things. I just want to stay on X. So.
Okay. Yeah, I don't blame you. It's a big pain in the ass.
It's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot of work.
Thanks so much. I appreciate it. See you on the road. May see you down there. Okay. All right. Bye. That's amazing. Oh, I cut her off accidentally. I didn't mean to. When we opened the program today, we were talking about Pete Hegseth and the announcement he made to the military, because he is the Secretary of War. And here's just one thing that he said that I'll replay. And this is going to send
administration has done a great deal from day one.
It's going to set off a lot of people.
Social justice, politically correct, and toxic ideological garbage that had infected our department. To rip out the politics. No more identity months, DEI offices, dudes in dresses. No more climate change worship. No more division, distraction, or gender delusions. No more debris. As I've said before, and will say again, we are done with that shit.
Well, I guess that sort of takes care of that. And we just got to get everybody's buy-in. And one of the guys I wanted to talk to today is Keith Gross. He is a former National Guardsman. So it's very appropriate that we can meld together the situation at the Pentagon and with Pete Hegseth giving that speech at Quantico today, and what's going on in Portland too. He can speak to both things. Did you get that water down? Keith Gross is a former...
Just in time.
I really appreciate it. He's written the book, Dirt Roads to Runways, Defending the American Dream for the Next Generation. I have your book somewhere, and I'll put it up when I can find my photo of it. And, well, what do you make of what Pete Hegseth had to say today?
Well, it's clear that he wanted to sort of change the direction of culture. It seems like, a lot of folks call it woke culture, but in short, it seems like our military was getting kind of soft. And he says, enough of that. Even you generals, you're going to start doing a PT test.
What did you think of that? What did he say? I hate, no fat generals. Let me just put that there. It was way too funny.
I thought it was about time, Look, no one in reality expects generals to go out and be on the front lines, being the first rifleman and, leading the charge. But, it is a bad message to the troops you lead. If you're out of shape, if you don't take the thing seriously that you're telling the troops, then you lose credibility. But I'll tell you,
it's tiring to look out at combat formations or really any formation.
This is where he says no fat generals.
Fat troops. Likewise, it's completely unacceptable to see fat generals and admirals in the halls of the Pentagon and leading commands around the country and the world. It's a bad look. It is bad, and it's not who we are. So whether you're an airborne ranger or a chairborne ranger, a brand new private or a 4-star general, you need to meet the height and weight standards and pass your PT test. And as the chairman said, yes, there is no PT test. But today, at my direction, every member of the Joint Force at every rank is required to take a PT test twice a year, as well as meet height and weight requirements twice a year.
They don't have to do PT?
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it is.
That's not how it's supposed to work. When I was in, I often thought it was really, really dumb that the women in the unit were required to do a different physical fitness assessment than the men. Like, to pass as a male, you had to do, say, 70 push-ups within 2 minutes, but to pass as a female, you only had to do like 26. Well, that's fine. And I get why there are differences biologically. Men can do more push-ups than women most of the time. But
Mhm.
the reality of the physical fitness test that the Army does is to make sure you're capable of pulling your fellow soldiers out of the line of fire in battle. It doesn't matter if you're male or female. You got to be able to pull your battle buddy out of the line of fire. So,
Yeah.
expecting some of the troops to hold a different standard, it's always seemed very illogical to me.
I mean, I just remember just recently one of the officials, executives on the LA Fire Department said a large woman who's a lesbian, and so she was, she was the first of everything. He said, we don't mind firsts, but they better be the best, is what he said today. So no extra points for just being a particular gender or color. And what this woman said was, she's supposed to be able to pull people out of fires. And she said, well, if they got themselves there, I mean, I'm not going to help them. Words to that effect.
Well,
yeah, after the LA fires, she said this. It's like, whoa, are you nuts? Yeah. So, example number one. I've got it on video somewhere. I'm sure I have it. Just insane. It's absolutely insane. What else did you think of what he had to say today?
I just thought it was generally a resetting of expectations, just making it clear that Trump's priorities are going to be pushed through from the top down at the Pentagon. This is not just an administration coming in and letting the Pentagon sort of behave independently. They are going to conform to the president's expectations. So I like that. It's good that they're changing things, because I don't think our military was necessarily headed in the right direction culturally. It's a good change.
No dudes in dresses.
Right.
I mean, that's all combat arms positions will use the highest male standards. All combat arms units will implement combat field test. They will take part in physical fitness. They have to complete a height and weight assessment. Beards are banned. He banned the beards unless you're in special forces. You can't have one unless there's a religious exemption for the Nordic pagans or Sikhs.
What's a Nordic pagan? Is that a Viking?
I think it is.
That basically sounds like a Viking.
I think that's what he meant. Anyway, so I was watching a couple of different takes of the speech, and I felt like there were a lot of people who were applauding it. The people on The View, not so much, but
they don't like anything. We're not surprised.
No, I'm glad to be able to speak to somebody who's actually been in the military and in the National Guard. What do you guys do in the National Guard? They're really having a moment, kvetching at this point in Portland, Oregon, where the 200 National Guard troops are going to be deployed around and near the ICE headquarters near downtown Portland. And there was a huge effort by city and state leaders not to have them come, because we're fine. We've got this handled. Yesterday was the first time I saw, or maybe it was the day before yesterday, was the first time I saw Portland police do anything with any of the protesters in months. I mean, all of a sudden, President Trump's talking about coming in. Portland Police Bureau sends a few guys down there, and then it doesn't take long until they find somebody breaking the law. And then they arrested them or took them away or whatever it is they do before they let them go and allow them to come back and do it again. And so what do you do?
Well, the National Guard generally acts as a supplemental force. The Army National Guard plugs into the Army on request or on orders, I suppose, from the president. So generally speaking, the National Guard is under the authority of the state governor. And so they're often used, in Florida, for example, they'll come out and help with hurricanes or other natural disasters. So you have that sort of thing. You have any sort of emergency supplemental force, any of those needs generally met at the state level. When the federal government activates the National Guard, it just becomes part of the regular Army for practical purposes. So, during Iraq and Afghanistan, National Guard units were deployed just like everyone else, in the Army for 18 months to 2 years at a time. So it's just an extension of the Army. When not on active duty, the National Guard's much more of a part-time thing, 2 weekends a month and 1 weekend a month and 2 weeks a year. That's generally the cadence where you go and you do a drill weekend once a month. And then once per year, you go for a 2-week full 2 weeks of active training. So depending on what your unit specializes in, you would go and do specialized training related to your unit's operations.
Uh-huh. Do you think that the tempo will be upgraded to more training for National Guardsmen after this announcement?
Probably not. I wouldn't think so. There's already a lot of training. So, I mean, when you initially enlist and you go through training, you go through the same basic combat training that any other soldier in the Army would go through. And you do that under federal orders on active duty. That's definitely not broken up into, 1 weekend a month. That's straight through basic, just like anyone else would go. And then you go through AIT or officer training, depending on your path for your specialty and whatever your job is going to be in the Army. So you're already fully trained. And then you just go into a reserve status and do regular drills. The idea of using National Guard for law enforcement supplement, like we're seeing now, that's pretty uncommon. And it generally only happens in emergency situations. But anytime you've got a state governor or municipal, mayor or something that refuses to enforce the laws and they let federal law enforcement officers come under attack or federal facilities to come under attack, that certainly qualifies as a reason for the president to mobilize federal assets to go and protect federal troops and federal buildings.
Mm-hmm. Well, Godspeed to those men and women of the National Guard. It's not going to be easy. They'll be taunted and they will have stuff thrown on them. They will be treated like garbage. So I hope they're ready.
I hope they're ready, and I hope they're given good rules of engagement, because the worst thing that could be done is put them out there and tell them they're not allowed to fire. So you mean they just got to take flack from all these people? They're not allowed to defend themselves? What message does that send? Because I don't know if they realize they can attack and not get counter response.
I don't know what the keep going.
That's not how you're trained. If somebody comes at you, you're supposed to return fire.
Yeah. Well, and these guys are all strapped down there. I don't care who I don't care what anybody says. They've all got weapons. They're some weapon or another, and they're not less lethal particularly. They've got sticks to hit heads they have signs that have nails in them, and they have guns. They have knives, and they've got their fists. So the people covering this are mostly women. So one cold cock from a 200-pound guy and you might die. I mean, it's just terrible. So I hope that they have some idea. I'm looking at this it doesn't say anything that I can tell about the ROE. I've got this letter going out to the troops that was somehow intercepted by a reporter. And so I don't know that it has any ROE in it, but I'll keep an eye out for that. Good call on that. Thank you so much, Keith Gross.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. He's such a wonderful person and a person who's just knowledgeable about a lot of different things. Really appreciate it. So yeah, go buy his book. He ran for office. And I mean, I cannot believe that dude didn't win. I mean, he's just so good. Well, a couple other things happened. On Friday, we had the James Comey indictment, and I wanted to go over a couple of things because I believe it's a very important time. I'm not entirely sure why they brought it in Virginia, except that Eastern District of Virginia, I think it is. And so they didn't bring it in D.C. They could do that in Eastern Virginia. But I was hoping that there would be a bit more against James Comey, because after all, he's the person who gave his imprimatur to continue the farce that they all knew was a fake Russia collusion deal against Donald Trump that was started by Hillary Clinton. And that is indisputable. So if there's any hothead out there who says, Hillary Clinton didn't do that. One time I was speaking before an organization, and this was in Portland, and I talked about something that was, it was the Barack Obama Kenyan thing, right? Oh, he's a citizen of Kenya or something like that. And you would have thought that I had gone up and delivered a lethal blow to the reputation of Hillary Clinton by what I said. I said, Hillary Clinton is the one who started that. And there was an audible gasp in woke Portland. What? Of course she did. She ran against him. Hello. She got the intel that his book publisher was putting that piece of information in the sizzle reel or whatever it is they hand out to people who want to buy the book or front the book. And it was his first book, which, by the way, he had to go back and rewrite because it's terrible. It was his first book, and I think Bill Ayers actually wrote that for him. But nevertheless, his own publishing company said, and he was born in Kenya. I mean, it's just like, nobody made that up. He did. Barack Obama did, or his book publisher did. Do you think that his book publisher would have allowed him to do that? So anyway, that is the derivation of that. And you would have thought, oh my gosh, St. Hillary of Chappaqua, we ought not do anything. Anyway, so she's getting the same treatment that James Comey had. But by the way, let me just give you a few of the dozens here that happened to James Comey. He's going to be able to turn himself in October 9th. For the two federal charges, I guess, which would be, not I guess, they are federal charges, but I think usually the federal charges are 5 years apiece. And he is, let me just make sure I get it, making a false statement. I know sometimes I have to use paper because I've got two electronic devices, sometimes I got to use paper. I'm a longtime radio host, and I've done that. And you will never catch me doing an entire show only electronically. Occasionally, I have to have this, and so I made some notes today. So it's making a false statement. The charge alleges that Comey willfully and knowingly made material, false, fictitious, fraudulent statements to Congress. He's accused of denying that he authorized any FBI official to serve as an anonymous source. He's already admitted he did that. It's just like, what? How do you not? Of course he's gonna say that he's not guilty. And the other one is obstruction of a congressional proceeding. Now that has a turn of phrase that is just excellent. But this charge claims that Comey obstructed Congress by providing false and misleading statements with the intent to hinder the committee's examination of FBI activities before and after the 2016 election. Okay. So that's what he's charged with. And basically, he and Susan Rice, Lisa Monaco, James Clapper, John Brennan, Joe Biden, Barack Obama sat in a room and they said, we're going to continue with Hillary's before and after this whole spying thing started on Trump before he was in elected office. And so they had a meeting and they talked about this issue. And Barack Obama said, we got to keep the farce up. We're going to keep it up. Now go find the intelligence. Remember, Tulsi Gabbard just recently released her documents from the Department of Intelligence. And they show that under the order of President Barack Obama, he said, go find the ways in which Russia stole the election so that we can keep it up. Comey leaked information eventually after Trump realized he was such a fraud. And he released information to his friend, the college professor, who got it to his other buddy, the New York Times reporter, who reported on all of this, spoonful. And that New York Times reporter's married to Nicole Wallace of MSNBC. So it's just a big, they're in a big old hot tub having beers and whatever. So then that happened. These charges appear to come from the fact that Ted Cruz, the senator from the constitutional expert and senator from Texas, in a colloquy he had with Comey before the Senate, in which Ted Cruz says, so your testimony here is that you've never leaked anything to anyone? It was pretty much that. And he says, I've never done that. Well, that's obvious nonsense. So he lied to Congress. And why they didn't put lying to Congress as part of it is a mystery. But you're dealing with a government jury pool. So you've got all these government actors, and who knows what kind of things they're doing to cull the herd in your grand jury. So it's very interesting. I've heard people lament that this grand conspiracy, of which Comey's a part, and by the way, everybody knows this because Susan Rice left that letter she wrote on President Trump's inauguration day saying, we did everything by the book. And what that was a signed confession. So that was a signed confession saying that, oh, we actually had this meeting and we discussed this and everything was done by the book. No, it wasn't. They lied for FISA warrants. They spied on a presidential campaign. They sent in fact, before I go, you got to hear this one. I had forgotten about the honeypot thing that James Comey had started. He had 2 women before this whole investigation, and before he leaked the information after he'd gotten fired to his friend from Columbia Law School, who leaked it to his friend at the New York Times. He's married to Nicole Wallace from MSNBC. He wanted to do that to trigger a special counsel investigation. But that's not all he did. He did this. He leaked information, and check this out. He sent 2 women spies into the Trump campaign. This is before he won, to spy on him. The FBI head. What is this, J. Edgar Comey? Come on, man.
By using 2 undercover agents in a so-called honeypot operation?
Incredible.
Todd Pyro joins us with details. Todd.
This is big. Under the leadership of new FBI Director Kash Patel and Deputy Director Dan Bongino, the Bureau has reportedly launched an investigation into the agency's plan to infiltrate President Trump's first campaign using 2 female undercover agents. The Washington Times reporting that the program was launched in 2015 by then FBI Director James Comey. The honeypot scheme was actually kept off the books, and according to a whistleblower, Comey's investigation was separate from Crossfire Hurricane. You, of course, know that as the FBI's operation that looked into allegations Trump's campaign colluded with Russia.
So this is confirmed. So not only was he a bad actor and working treacherously against the sitting president of the United States, but he had already started doing this before Trump was elected. So this is the person we're dealing with. When he is indicted, which I hope he will be, in the grand conspiracy, in a case that will be heard and brought before the grand jury in Florida, because the biggest piece of evidence, the worst thing that they did in furtherance of that conspiracy, among all of the things, was not spying on him with honeypots. It was raiding Mar-a-Lago. So, and I also hope that there's a superseding indictment on James Comey as well. In this case, in the DMV. Okay, so hey, we covered a lot, didn't we? Hegseth, we got Comey, we got Keith Gross on all of it. I mean, very interesting show. Thanks for being here. Appreciate it. Remember, head up, heart out, and strive to be the adult in the room. Thank you for watching. Thank you so much for watching and listening to this episode of the Adult in the Room podcast. We do not take you for granted. We appreciate every single person who tunes in every week to listen and watch this program. We're here every Tuesday and Thursday, live streaming on Rumble, and then on every other podcast platform shortly thereafter, when we can port it over and get it over there as soon as we can. All the shows can be found at victoriataft.com, where the censorship regime has been banned by me. Follow me on social media at these names: Victoria Taft, the Adult in the Room podcast, and The Victoria Taft Show. Send media inquiries, or any others for that matter, to victoria@victoriataft.com. And here's a big ask. Would you please subscribe, share, like, comment, recommend, and give this program a 5-star rating where you can? We really appreciate it. We do not take that for granted either. Follow my work at, you guessed it, victoriataft.com. PJ Media, I write tons over there. Flamingo Audiobooks, and of course the radio. I don't do this alone. This show is produced and engineered by Overall Media. 1A Cast is responsible for some of the Adult in the Room podcast's imaging. Logo design by Hageman Creative. The Adult in the Room podcast is produced at Flamingo Road Studios. All rights reserved.